Like, they're suing me for something I didn't do. It's just the most bullshit thing. And I literally had to pay them a lot of fucking money.
Jake Paul just got sued by Netflix after losing to Anthony Joshua. And man, I watched this whole thing unfold in real time, knowing exactly what it was supposed to be, what it was marketed as, and what it actually turned into. This wasn't some small-time event that slipped under the radar. This was supposed to be a massive moment.
I heard that Gervonta Davis was being very difficult to work with, and Netflix was just waiting for a reason.
This was being sold as a Netflix heavyweight event, streamed globally to millions of subscribers, and here's the key thing they kept hammering home in all the marketing. This was serious boxing, not influencer nonsense, not some charity exhibition with retired athletes taking it easy, not YouTube drama in the ring. This was being positioned as Joshua versus Paul on Netflix, happening in a real professional arena with actual judges, ringside doctors, broadcast cameras everywhere, and legitimate heavyweight presence. The whole production was designed to scream legitimacy and professional credibility.
Yeah, we think he broke his jaw. He's fine. We met with Netflix afterwards. He took a shower. He drove himself to the hospital. A broken jaw is very common in sports, particularly in boxing or MMA. And I think the recovery time from
And Jake walked into that arena like he was the king of confidence. You know what I'm saying? The branding around him was all about being built differently. Fearless, completely untouchable by criticism or doubt. That was the entire pitch they were selling to the audience. That was the narrative Netflix bought into and paid serious money to promote. Except here's where reality crashed into marketing. The man standing across from him in that ring was not a retired mixed martial artist, looking for a payday, not a basketball player trying something new, not some nostalgia act trading on their name from 20 years ago. It was Anthony Joshua, a former two-time unified heavyweight champion with an Olympic gold medal, a legitimate fighter with over a decade of elite competition baked deep into his muscle memory and reflexes. Anthony Joshua had spent years, actual years, getting punched in the face by real heavyweights, not building a boxing career on social media platforms, and carefully curated matchups.
Anthony Joshua didn't throw a single straight right hand for 6 rounds.
The experience gap was absolutely embarrassing when you really broke it down and looked at what each fighter brought to the table. Joshua had Olympic pedigree from representing his country on the world stage. Multiple world titles across different organizations, championship rounds against the best fighters in the division. And perhaps most importantly, he had losses that actually taught him something valuable about the sport. Jake had highlight reels that looked impressive in short clips, hype videos edited for maximum impact, and a history of carefully managed opponents selected to build his record without too much risk. The physical mismatch was even worse when they stood face to face. Reach advantage, body mass, natural power, timing developed over thousands of rounds, composure under real pressure. Joshua had all of it, without needing to show off or prove anything. Jake needed constant noise and bravado just to survive in the conversation.
And not only did you not get knocked out, you dropped and said, wow. I was like, wow, that was nice. I was on the ground, I was like, that was a good shot.
Did he surprise you with his power?
To be honest, no, but I mean, he surprised my jaw.
This was genuinely the first time Jake Paul stepped into a ring with a prime, active, world-level boxer who had nothing to gain from taking it easy and everything to prove to critics who questioned why he'd even take this fight. There was no storyline protection written into the matchmaking. No narrative cushion if things went wrong. Just pure risk and exposure. And the moment that opening bell rang, I could see it in his movement and body language. This was not about winning anymore. Not about dominating or making a statement. This was about surviving without getting exposed too badly or too fast. Because everyone watching knew the loss itself was not just going to be a knockout on his record, it was going to be the live, public cracking of the entire Jake Paul business model, broadcast to millions. The idea that confidence and self-belief could replace actual experience and skill finally died in front of a global audience that couldn't look away.
Looks like Jake Paul is trying to bait him into something, but he's the one that's hit the canvas twice in this round. Incredible.
From the opening seconds of that first round, it was completely obvious what Jake's real game plan had become. Move laterally, avoid direct exchanges, grab and clinch whenever Joshua got close, reset to distance, repeat the whole sequence over and over. There was no dominance being established, no control of the ring, no imposing his will on the fight, just defensive footwork designed purely for survival. And here's what people miss when they analyze this fight. Joshua let him do it. That is the part casual fans don't understand. Joshua deliberately slowed the pace down, measured the distance with precision, took mental notes on Jake's patterns and habits, and let fatigue do the damage before his power needed to finish the job. Jake circled around that ring like someone trying not to drown in deep water, just keeping his head above the surface. Every clinch was a breath of relief and recovery. Every reset to distance was borrowed time before the inevitable. Joshua did not rush any of it, because he didn't need to. He just waited with the patience of someone who's been in championship fights. That is what real, elite-level experience looks like in action. When you know the other guy is spending energy just to exist in the ring with you, you let him burn it all before you go to work.
I love this shit, and I'm gonna come back and get a world championship belt at some point.
Are you surprised you went 6 rounds with the former 2-time unified heavyweight champion?
Honestly, I'm not surprised. I just got tired, to be honest. Like, it was just so much.
Then the 5th round happened, and that was where the complete collapse began in earnest. 2 knockdowns in the same round, not from chaotic wild exchanges where anything can happen, not from lucky punches, but from pure accumulation of damage and the breakdown of fundamentals. Balance gone, defensive structure unraveling, legs getting stiff and unresponsive, breathing becoming heavy and labored. That round stripped away every single illusion about this being a competitive fight. Jake was not getting unlucky with timing or caught by surprise shots. He was fundamentally, completely outmatched in every aspect that matters. By the time the 6th round started, the outcome was inevitable to everyone watching. One clean, perfectly timed power shot landed. No theatrical buildup, no controversy about the stoppage, just pure physics and the transfer of force. The referee stepped in and waved it off because there was simply nothing left to prove, and no reason to let it continue. Jake's body had already given up before the count even needed to finish.
I don't like it. Even Anthony Joshua had some class and, apologized to me.
Did he really?
Yeah. He worked his way through the crowd and came up to me and said, "Mom, it's just boxing.
It's the fight game.
It's just the fight game."
Obviously.
The reaction afterwards across social media and sports coverage said absolutely everything about what people had just witnessed. On one hand, people were shocked that he actually lasted 6 full rounds against a fighter of Joshua's caliber. But on the other hand, they were equally shocked by how completely helpless he looked once real pressure arrived and he couldn't escape. That was not bravery or heart on display. That was a slow, methodical dismantling documented from every camera angle with absolutely nowhere to hide from reality. All that tough guy talk and social media bravado did not last very long after the final bell. Within just hours of leaving that ring, Jake was being transported to a hospital for medical evaluation, no victory speeches being prepared, no chest pounding for the cameras, no defiant posts about moral victories, just fluorescent hospital lights and medical staff doing their jobs and running tests. The diagnosis that came back was brutally blunt and worse than initial reports suggested. First, it was a broken jaw, then the imaging revealed something worse. A double fracture, not a rumor being spread by haters, not speculation from armchair experts, but confirmed by actual medical imaging and professional diagnosis. Recovery time estimates landed in the 4 to 6 week range at absolute minimum, and that's assuming no complications during healing. That is not a bruise that looks bad for a few days. That is not swelling that goes down. That is structural bone damage, and people really need to understand what that actually means for a fighter. A fractured jaw affects absolutely everything in your daily life. Eating solid food becomes a serious problem, requiring liquid diets. Speaking clearly becomes limited and painful. Even breathing requires careful attention and modification. All training stops completely and immediately. No sparring, no pad work, no conditioning that involves any head movement. This is not a cosmetic injury you can hide with makeup. This is structural damage to your skull, and it's the kind of injury that fundamentally changes how you approach fighting, if you even come back at all. But Jake, being Jake, he immediately tried to spin it into content. Social media posts started appearing, jokes about the injury, bravado-filled captions about being tough, turning a hospital visit into marketing material, and engagement farming. Even his profile imagery leaned into mockery and making light of serious trauma. No real accountability for the loss? No genuine reflection on what went wrong or what he learned, just branding and content creation and maintaining the persona. And that is where the whole thing got truly embarrassing to watch unfold. He lost the fight decisively. Then he tried to turn medical trauma into marketing material. And everyone watching saw exactly what he was doing. The contrast was absolutely brutal when you stepped back and looked at the full picture. Here was a man claiming to be fearless and unbreakable, while simultaneously documenting the physical consequences of facing someone who actually belonged at that level. I did not see a warrior learning and growing from adversity. I saw someone discovering in real time that confidence and social media clout do not heal bone fractures, and that cameras and clever editing do not cushion the impact of real punches from real fighters. Then came the bombshell news about the canceled super fight that was supposed to be next. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis had been officially scheduled for November 14th in Miami. And this wasn't just talk or negotiation. Tickets had already been sold to fans. Marketing campaigns were actively live across multiple platforms. Advertising inventory had been booked and paid for by sponsors. Major sponsors were locked into contracts. Production crews had been staffed and scheduled. The venue had been prepared and reserved. And Netflix had committed absolutely serious money to the event before a single glove was even touched or a single promotion had been filmed. The financial scale of what was being built was genuinely massive. Internal financial projections from sources close to the production reportedly approached $120 million in total event value, and that included projected subscription increases, advertising revenue, sponsorship deals, and the long-term positioning value for Netflix in the combat sports space. This was not a casual gamble or a small side project they were testing. This was a major investment with infrastructure built around it. Production costs, staffing salaries, promotion budgets, and technical infrastructure were already paid for and deployed. The machine was actively running and spending money every single day. Then Jake canceled the entire thing. Unilaterally, without gradual exit negotiations, without compromise or attempting to reschedule, just a straight decision that set everything on fire and left everyone scrambling. And here's what makes this legally devastating. Netflix did not allege confusion about terms or miscommunication between parties in their lawsuit. They alleged willful breach of contract, and you need to understand that distinction. Not mutual termination where both sides agree. Not citing unforeseen circumstances that made performance impossible. Willful breach. That specific word matters enormously in contract law and damages calculations. The lawsuit that Netflix filed landed at $100 million in claimed damages, with the very real legal danger being that lost profits calculations could push that number even higher as discovery reveals more financial impact. This was not about punishing Jake for simply changing his mind about a business decision. This was about legal accountability and setting a precedent. Jake's credibility as a reliable draw for major events took a direct, measurable hit that will follow him. Platforms do not forget when someone cost them this much money and embarrassment. They simply do not. And advertisers who got burned, they definitely do not forget. And they talk to each other. Netflix leadership was reportedly absolutely furious about the whole situation. Company executives were publicly embarrassed in the industry, fielding calls from angry partners. Their brand trust with advertisers and sponsors took real damage that will affect future negotiation. This is a company that prides itself on precision, data-driven decisions, and maintaining control of their content ecosystem. And suddenly they looked completely reckless for betting so heavily on an influencer fighter who treated legally binding contracts like optional suggestions he could ignore. Jake did not just lose a boxing fight to Anthony Joshua. He burned a multi-billion-dollar company's patience and goodwill in one decisive move, and that has consequences that will extend far beyond this single lawsuit.